Now, almost 70% of South Africans cannot pay their bills on time, and about a third of homeowners have been late with their bond repayments, and this has been in the past 12 months. That's according to the NedFinHealth Monitor. Now, it has found that financial health score is just slightly above the midpoint of financial health. Now, what this means is that while there is a good foundation, there are many skills that can still be learned. Joining us now to discuss this is Dr. Frank Magwegwe from Nedbank Financial Wellness. Good to have you with us, Dr. Frank, and thank you for your time. Now, when you look at this number...
good morning, Tammy. Thank you for having me on your show.
No,
and what
you.
a wonderful introduction.
Well, I'm glad you liked the introduction. I think a lot of us who are going to be, listening to this interview are just looking at that number and thinking 70% of South Africans are actually struggling with paying their bills. Talk to us about that number, Dr. Frank. And I was quite interested to find out, yes, it says here that 53%, or the health score is 53, which means the knowledge is there, there is an awareness, but why is there a disjointure there? You have the information. Is it just a matter of not being able to apply the information? What are the factors that are leading to this?
Yeah, I think there are about three factors, Tammy. The first one, you're quite right that we as Nedbank, in putting together this piece of work, this report, the NedFin Monitor, what we did realize was that often people need an anchor. They need some sort of number that helps. And when you get a number, I think two things happen. 53 out of 100 on average, that's what you are scoring South Africans at. And of course, what comes to mind for me would be, I'm just barely making it. What can I do to improve? So that's the reason we went out with a score out of 100. And then you raise the issue of the 33 in 100 South Africans, right, who have been struggling with their home loan payments. And in addition to that, we have the 7 in 10 are not paying bills on time. When we combine that time, what do we get? We get a picture of consumers who are struggling, post-COVID, to manage my finances, the issues around working from home. Then we went into that period of interest rates rising. We seem to have a bit of a pause now. Cost of living has been quite excessive for most people. So people are struggling, not necessarily because they don't have the good financial habits and behaviors. I'll come to that. The context matters. That's one part of it. Then, of course, Tammy, you are quite right when you say we did also see in the NedFinHealth Monitor clearly a gap between knowing and doing. I know what I should do. Let me give you a practical example of that. 62% of South Africans said every year, within every 12 months, I check my credit report. That's good. But at the same time, Tammy, they say to us, 42% of them, 42 in 100, they said, I feel I have too much debt. So I know, but I am not necessarily doing. And so what we bring to the mix of financial wellness and education as Nedbank is that when we do financial education, we need to move beyond just helping people understand the basics, like interest rates, how banks work, what is a share, what is a unit trust, to really help people understand the behaviors that are needed to improve their financial health.
One thing that we've seen, Dr. Frank, from your report is that it says that 62% of South Africans say that their spending equals or exceeds their income. What are the factors that have contributed to this? Because I guess not that people are clearly delinquent, that they are spending more than they actually can have because they choose to, but because, as you said, context matters.
The context is so challenging, Tammy. We are seeing, for example, that the spending above income, it's a direct consequence of a tough economic environment for consumers. We're seeing consumers who got a home loan, a car loan several years ago and did not expect the level of interest rates we are currently at. If you look at fresh fruit, if you look at vegetables, dare I also add eggs. Things have become so challenging for consumers. So we need to acknowledge that's part of driving it. The other behaviors, Tammy, that's worrying when we look at that statistic that makes the situation worse is this. Because I'm spending more than I'm earning, I don't have money left. What do? I go to friends, family, and formal credit providers. That's a big statistic that we also saw. I'm going to borrow from formal and informal sources. For what? Because I'm spending more than I'm earning, I'm borrowing for day-to-day expenses, food, transport, paying my mortgage, paying my rent. So it really makes the situation challenging. What are we saying to consumers as Nedbank? What are we saying to employers? We're saying two things. Employers, we are saying your employees are really going through a tough financial situation. Can you do employee wellness programs that can help? Also, can you look whether you are paying employees a wage that makes them able to survive this challenging environment that we're in? To employees and consumers in general, we're saying one of the things you can do is really to be disciplined around just tracking your expenses and seeing where can you cut if possible, where can you buy in bulk, that service shopping, or also find side hustles that can bring a little bit of additional income. In fact, 41% of our respondents, 41% of South Africans say to us they are putting aside money, Tammy, to start a side hustle.
Talking about increasing your income, 35% of those who are in the survey says that their income has actually decreased. Yes, there are issues of unemployment, but what else could have been a factor to a decline in household income?
A number of factors, Tammy. One of the key factors that was very interesting for us is this idea of income declining because companies have been grappling with this idea of work from home. We saw post-COVID that some companies, in trying to maintain their workforce, decided that, well, the only way we can not retrench if we cut back salaries. So that has contributed to it. Tell me, one of the sad things we have seen in Nedbank, earlier in the year, we had another piece of work, our load shedding report. One of the reasons, Tammy, that incomes have come down, it's particularly SMMEs trying to grapple with load shedding and really going back to the workforce to say, if we're going to keep our doors open, we need to compromise with you as employees and cut salaries until we've got a stable supply of electricity. Then we'll be able to be at full capacity. That is another reason, Tammy.
Dr. Frank, I'm going to have to let you go in just a moment, but if you could give some word of advice to somebody who's listening this morning saying, yes, I actually am part of that 70% that's not able to pay their bills consistently every month, considering all the factors, considering all of the challenges, what piece of advice would you give to that person?
Tammy, I would say two things. The one is what Gareth said, right? Banks are willing and able to help distressed consumers. When banks are getting in touch with you because you've missed a payment, please be proactive, pick up the phones, or even better, go and tell them you are going through distress, you need help. Then I'll build on your point, Tammy. 70%, big scary number, but when you are in there, please realize you're not alone. 7 in 10 South Africans are struggling. So don't put pressure on yourself. Don't feel ashamed to seek help because the environment is what has mostly contributed to consumers being in distress.
Dr. Frank Magwegwe, thank you so much for your sage advice and all that information.
Wonderful to be on the show.